102.35 down $1.07. I'm Andy Eubank. Who's your ag today? Indiana's Farm Network. Hard-working Case IH Farm All Utility A-Series tractors combine high horsepower, advanced features, excellent comfort, and outstanding value. Available in 3 new models ranging from 97 to 120 horsepower. Case IH Farm All tractors are rugged, reliable, and easy to operate. Option of front 2-wheel drive or MFD, and available in cab or non-cab configurations. See Bain Welker for details or visit bain-welker.com. Bain Welker, employee-owned, customer.
LaPorte County's original social media. Sound Off is a public interest forum that encourages your voice to be heard on the topics and issues impacting our local communities. For the next 30 minutes, we invite you to be part of the conversation by calling 219-362-0522. And you can now text your questions to the Liquor Vault on-air line or by email to soundoff@967theeagle.com. This is a topic-based program, and we ask that you keep your comments brief, concise, and related to the topic being discussed. The views expressed on Sound Off are those of the host or callers and do not represent the opinion of 96.7 The Eagle, Spoon River Media LLC, or the sponsors. The Liquor Vault on-air line is now open for your calls or texts at 219-362-0522. This is Sound Off on 96.7 The Eagle.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Sound Off. Today is Friday, February 11th. You've got just a couple more days to get me a Valentine's Day present. If you want my list, just request it, and I'll give it. I like chocolate. I like money. Money's great. And I like it when people give Dennis uncomfortable hugs, and I get to watch. So, why does he get to control the sound effects? Hey, just glad to have you on the show today. Glad to have you with us. We've got LaPorte County Prosecuting Attorney back with us. He comes on about every 4 to 6 weeks to talk about what's happening in our community, criminally, legally, these kind of things. If you have a question about anything that's going on there, you're welcome to call us on the Liquor Vault on-air line at 219-362-0522. You will have to call us today or email us at soundoff@967theeagle.com. You can email that email, and it'll go right to me. We do not have the text line again this week. Don't know what's going on there, but hopefully we'll get it back sooner rather than later. But that number again is 219-362-0522. Prosecuting Attorney John Lake, how are you, buddy?
Good.
Hey, how about those Fighting Irish basketball team?
I've been so busy that I'm coaching my son's basketball team. I have not had an opportunity.
How are they doing?
We're undefeated.
So you're doing better than the Notre Dame team.
Yeah.
I mean, but Notre Dame's having a good season. You should get a. If you
I know
get a chance.
they're in first place. Yeah, I know. So I observed the scores and that, but I just haven't had I think the one time I watched them play, they got blown out, and so I was like,
we've had a couple of those games. Yes.
I better not watch them.
Yeah. So. We've had a couple of those games, but you know what? Again. It's a surprise because I didn't expect them to do very well this year. Yeah,
and it's kind of interesting because my kids go to Lalamere, and J.J. Starling is going to be going to Notre Dame next year. So it's always exciting to see Notre Dame doing well in sports, and it's kind of different. When I was there, we had to pay for tickets. Apparently, my daughter's telling me that they can just go and they get tickets free. So I'm like, well, why aren't you going to all the games then?
Yeah, or why doesn't she just get the tickets and let maybe our favorite radio host have them or something, so. All right, well, I'm glad to have you on the show today. Let's talk about a couple of things that I've seen in the news and unpack a little bit of these. Some questions that I try to take down questions that I see on some of the hometownnewsnow.com stories, these kind of things, just to get some clarity for you, from you. And maybe you can explain to our listeners some of these things. Some of them are maybe involve your office, but some of them don't, but you can maybe even explain them. But, one of the questions is, very recently, news broke of a former LaPorte teacher who is accused of raping a student. Now, this is not in the LaPorte school system. This was when he left a year ago or so to go to a South Bend school. However, the question that I've seen is about the bail system. So he was on a $25,000 bail, and he bailed out. How is bail determined if you're going to jail? How do they determine the bail system?
That's up to the judge. And there are standard bonds that they have for each of the levels of the crime. And I see a lot of that always, like, how can the prosecutor let this person out? Why are they doing it? You know, we can only argue for bail or to hold them, and the judge can, you know, within their discretion, can set the bail at whatever they determine to basically make sure that they're gonna show up. And this was a $25,000 cash bond. That then he posted $25,000 in cash.
So in that kind of bond, you know, because again,
it was cash only.
Yeah, it's a cash only bond, and you have to pay the whole $25,000.
Yep, and they posted that, and then he's free to go. So, you know, again, in all the cases I've handled, in our, you know, there are certain circumstances where we are arguing against the Rule 26 when we have people who we believe are violent or are being charged with heinous crimes that we want. But again, ultimately, I don't concern myself too much with bond because that's within the judge's discretion. What I'm concerned about is making sure that we are trying the cases, and you know, we're number one, first of all, investigating the cases properly, because you can't. And we had this conversation before I came on, that you can't just, you know, file cases and think, oh, you know, without all the evidence. And sometimes we do have warrantless arrests on heinous crimes that we don't want this guy to disappear or lady or whoever committed the crime. So we're going to charge them. And then, you know, what we're always up against, what we're always thinking as prosecutors is that a person has a right to a speedy trial. And that means that from the day that they have their initial hearing or arrest, they then have 70 days to try them. And so sometimes, you know, we have to maybe agree to OR somebody, which is release somebody on their own recognizance, because we're waiting for lab tests, we're waiting for DNA, and we have to ask for continuances. But if we don't try them within that first 70 days and ask for continuance, or they're not released, then the case will be dismissed. So there's a lot of procedural elements to being a prosecutor that you have to have and have to understand and have the experience to deal with it. But as far as bond goes, I've told, you know, people this: we don't control it. You know, we file it, and it's totally, there's not like an amount we ask for. That's set by the judge, you know, and based on the facts of the case, and based, you know, and you want to do it that they're consistent with the levels of crime. Like, you know, murder cases. I've seen cases that murder cases, $100,000 cash only. I've seen $1 million. I've seen, you know, and you get into this rule, criminal Rule 26, which is basically where we're trying to release people, the effects that people aren't being let. We don't have a debtor's prison. That people who can't afford to post a $700 bond on a you know, a level 6 felony or below, or misdemeanor or something, that they're being held in jail, then they lose their job, you know, and it creates more stress in their life with the divorce, you know, those type of things. We just see that, and I, as a prosecutor, don't want to be the bail prosecutor where I'm keeping people in jail but they're not getting tried. I'd much rather, you know, if they show up for their trial, that they've been given a trial date, and if they don't show up, that we can try them in absentia, and then we can go forward to then get them sentenced. And sometimes people we don't control. I mean, I don't go out and arrest people. I mean, I get a lot of I get messages, instant messages on our Facebook page about, hey, this person's here, they're in this county, or whatever. I pass that on to the authorities who go and arrest them. I don't go out and capture the criminals. I don't go out and arrest them. I don't execute warrants. That's outside my province. But I do pass that information on. So there's always a working relationship with the sheriffs, the local PDs, that you want to have that give and take. So.
Another thing that I've seen on the news that have had some, again, this isn't necessarily your purview, but it is a little bit, you warrants and things like this certainly impact the prosecutor, but there's a national story of a no-knock warrant. And essentially what had happened is a gentleman that, you know, the police went in there, the man was killed. And I think if the story's right, it wasn't him. Essentially, you know, these kind of things. And there's this national conversation now about no-knock warrants and things like that. If you can, explain to our listeners a little bit about what that is, and then explain, do you have opinions on these? How do you make sense of these no-knock warrants? Are they ultimately a good thing that was, you know, used terribly, or is it something that we really just don't need in our system?
I think you have to have the ability to have a no-knock warrant. But again, it's going to be based on probable cause, because first of all, you're talking about a search warrant, and that's what we're talking about. And there are some tragedies that can come in if you have faulty information, and the address is wrong. Like in an apartment building, you had the in Louisville, Kentucky.
Yep.
You had the situation there. This one happened.
Taylor, I think.
Yep. And you had this one that happened up in Minnesota, and and somebody's trying to serve. I know one in Texas. You have tragedies, and when officers and what it is, they will approach, and normally a no-knock warrant, I don't routinely ask for them. It's only in circumstances where we believe the suspect is highly dangerous and is been known to shoot and has weapons, and like we're
so
serving.
The element of surprise is an important part of it,
right? That you don't want to put your officers in danger. The officers always have, when they go out and serve a search warrant, and they see the situation and they observe guns, they have an option to do that on their own and be able to do it. But normally it's reserved for like where you think there's going to be a shootout. Like if you're serving, we've had some drug busts and some case. We're in a HIDA, which is there's only 4 counties. There might be now Terre Haute might be added, Vigo County might be added to that, and that's where those counties. Drugs that are being sold in those counties are traced back directly to the cartels in Mexico. And there's only like 70 of those counties in the United States.
And we're one of them?
We're one of them.
Oh.
And what that designation does is it gives us federal dollars. So our drug task force since 2018 or 2019 has been a HIDA designated county.
So real quick, we'll get to that. We'll get to HIDA in a second. But go ahead.
But I was going to say, so in those circumstances, if you're dealing with like the cartel where you know that people may have machine guns or be very, very dangerous, in that situation, you might ask for a no-knock warrant. It's a real tragedy that you want to make sure as a prosecutor, and I don't know what the process was in these other counties, whether some counties will have their officers go directly to the judge and bypass the prosecutor's office. We get involved in those. We review it, we discuss it with them, and then we'll make that determination. But it's not a standard form that we ask for no-knock warrant on every search warrant. It's just not done.
So I want to touch on, because I've not heard of that HIDA before, and you said there was under 100 of these counties in the United States. So is there are so many questions about drugs in LaPorte County, these kind of things. Where are they coming from? Is this an understood kind of idea that many of the drugs we get here are coming directly from Mexico?
Yeah, and that's it's a sometimes I get criticized. I put out the thing about around Halloween about candy and stuff, and be careful with it. We have a big problem with fentanyl, and fentanyl is deadly. And what we're seeing is a lot of fake fentanyl, like fake pills that look like they may be oxycodone or whatever, the different types of drugs, that opioids, and they're made in a pill form, and they're pressed like that, and they're coming in, but they're actually fentanyl. And we've had a lot of overdoses in our county, unfortunately, and deaths resulting from that. I know that last year the drug task force had investigated 35 drug overdose deaths. Wow. And we try and we will file those if we can figure out who the dealer is and causing death. But it's the drugs are coming, the purity and stuff like meth. And when I became prosecutor, one of the first things, heroin was a real big problem. In 2018, there's a really big problem, and they passed the law in 2018 to allow the dealing causing death. And when in January 2019, we were the first county in the state to charge to use that and try and hold the dealers accountable. And what you saw was from the drug task force is that the heroin, because it was being cut with fentanyl and causing these overdose deaths, the heroin went down and meth distribution went up. But now meth is causing, because it's being cut with fentanyl as well. I mean, it's being added in, and we have a major problem, not just in our county, but it's like the HIDA is Lake County, Porter County, us,
so
and
it's
Marion
the whole
County.
Region then.
Yeah, it's the region, and I know that St. Joe County and Elkhart are looking to it, because you're looking at I-80, 90, I-94. 94 goes to Detroit, I-90 goes out to the East Coast, comes in, and we're always stopping people that are coming through from California. A lot of it's marijuana, but a lot of it's coke. We're seeing now. I was really kind of surprised. We have some kilos of cocaine being we're catching those with meth and everything else. So drugs is always going to be a problem, and that's where you're not going to prosecute your way out of the drug problem. We've had this conversation before. I think you have to deal with it from the addiction side. That how do we deal with this in society and make people not want to do it? And then that also gets into, you start dealing with the economic issues that people, why are they doing drugs? Well, because they've got mental health issues. They've had the opioid issue where they get hooked on them and then they can't get them. They can no longer get the prescription drugs. And so now they're turning to something that is as powerful to take away their pain. And so, there's just not one solution. We will prosecute the people who are dealing and causing these problems. But again, the state legislature has reduced the sentences for for a lot of the crimes. They don't want to put people in jail or put people in prison for the rest of their lives anymore for dealing drugs, and we're trying to come at it from a different point of view. So I have to deal with the laws as they are made and as they exist. I don't make the laws. I don't create them. We give our input downstate of what we think are issues, and that's not usually listened to. So it is what it is.
All right, we've got prosecuting attorney John Lake on the show. If you've got a question or you want to talk about something, you're welcome to call the Liquor Vault on-air line at 219-362-0522, or you can email me at soundoff@967theeagle.com. I'd be happy to ask the question for you. Hey, thanks so much for listening today. We're going to be right back here right after this.
Car problems often strike at the absolute worst times, but you can rest well knowing that Cannon's Automotive Service is here for you and dedicated to get you back on the road with prompt, efficient, same-day service. The same Cannon's commitment that LaPorte has trusted for over 50 years. Cannon's Automotive Service, now with 2 locations, 710 Tyler Street and 909 Boyd Boulevard.
With Cannon's Automotive, we fix everything.
Vote Fagan 2022. Who is Sean Fagan? He's a lawyer. He's a Republican. Sean Fagan, running for LaPorte County Prosecutor 2022. Sean Fagan knows that LaPorte County is a great place to live, and he wants to keep it that way. Sean Fagan for LaPorte County Prosecutor 2022. Be safe. Be strong. Let's work together. Vote Sean Fagan 2022. This message paid for by Fagan for Prosecutor.
Thinking about getting a small storage yard shed, a large riding arena, or maybe something in between? Milmar Buildings in LaPorte is your source for all your storage solutions. Let Milmar Buildings help you design and build your next project. They can guide you through the process every step of the way. Conveniently located 7 miles west from LaPorte on Highway 2. Stop in for your quote today at 7657 State Road 2. Call 785-0145 or visit milmarbuildings.com and get inspired.
There's 3 deer hunt seasons, right? Bow, shotgun, and the one you're never prepared for, deer in the headlight season. When that darn deer decides to jump right in front of your GMC and... Yeah, not the preferred way to get your 16-pointer, but if it happens to you, the Collision Center at Sowers Buick GMC stands ready to remove all evidence of that hunt from your grill and get you back on the road pronto. Remember, when it's crunch time, it's time to call the Collision Center at Sowers Buick GMC in LaPorte. Oh, and happy hunting.
No job is too big or too small. Auto body specialties, we do it all. Quality's #1 in auto body repair. To get fixed up, you know where. Foreign or domestic, we're your local shop. All work guaranteed, but we're hard to top. No job is too big or too small. Auto body specialties, we do it all.
With so many things going on around the area, it's really hard to keep up with this and that, and where is it all taking place? Especially when the weekend arrives and, hey, you're looking for something to do and all of a sudden, you forgot. Well, not anymore. Let us introduce you to the Weekend Entertainment Guide. Heard every Thursday and Friday here on 96.7 The Eagle. We'll list your nonprofit event on the air for everyone to hear. Also, we'll list it on our website at hometownnewsnow.com for others to see. Just visit hometownnewsnow.com, Click on the Submit tab and fill out the form and contact us for payment as we take credit or debit cards. It's the Weekend Entertainment Guide every Thursday and Friday here on your station for country music variety, 96.7 The Eagle. And don't forget to visit our website at hometownnewsnow.com. It's the Weekend Entertainment Guide on 96.7 The Eagle and at hometownnewsnow.com.
We're waiting to hear from you. Dial or text 362-0522 and let us know what you think. That's 362-0522. Back to Sound Off on 96.7 The Eagle.
Welcome back, friends. I've got in the studio today prosecuting attorney John Lake. I would love to hear from you today. 219-362-0522. We've got a couple of calls. Let's get to them. Hey, thanks so much for listening to the show. Thanks for calling. What's your question for prosecuting attorney John Lake?
Hello, is this me?
That's you.
Hey, Nate, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing okay.
Afternoon, John. This is Chris, otherwise known as the LaPorte Reporter. And I just wanted to sort of touch on the case that everybody seen recently with Mr. Doty. You mentioned it at the beginning of the show.
Mm-hmm.
And, everybody's innocent until they're proven guilty. I don't really want to touch on the bail or any pre-trial stuff. My question for Mr. Lake would be more in regards to give me a second here. I'm in the garage listening to you guys while I move some stuff around. I'm trying to catch my breath. Should Mr. Doty be found guilty? I went to his arraignment today, but should he be found guilty later on down the road, can we finally count on Mr. Lake to make an example of one of these child predators, or are we going to experience another situation where even though this is a heinous crime and the individual ends up guilty, they do one day in jail or something? Can we count on you actually taking this to a jury trial and giving him a significant amount of time to make an example? Because this is a caregiver accused of a sexual assault against a child. And from what I'm hearing, rumors through town, this isn't the only scenario where this happened. He left LaPorte High School a year ago for a reason, so I hear. But can we finally count on you to maybe crack down on one of these child predators, Mr. Lake, or are you just going to plea bargain this out, keep your 97% conviction rate, and give him a couple days?
All right, prosecuting attorney John Lake.
Yeah, that's not really accurate, Mr. Throgmorton, and you know that. We don't care about what the conviction rate is. We handle these cases, and there's been many child molesters that we've convicted and sentenced. But if we take the case to a jury trial, we don't sentence the person. That's up to the judge. So any complaints about some of these with argued sentencings that we have would not be with our office. We don't make examples of people. We deal with each case based on it and based on the evidence. And obviously, I don't want to get into the specifics, but this is a heinous crime. It's going to be handled appropriately by our office. So that's what I have to say about that.
All right, we've got prosecuting attorney John Lake on the show. If you want to call in, 219-362-0522. Let's get to another question. Hey, thanks so much for listening to the show. What's your question for prosecuting attorney John Lake?
Oh, thank you for coming on the air, Mr. Lake. If you read the newspapers and the television, all the different news channels, as a state prosecutor for state of Indiana, I'm sure all states are probably different, but in some of these major metropolitan areas like Los Angeles, San Francisco, I believe Portland, Chicago, New York, prosecuting attorneys are prosecuting according to their own standards and I believe that's why we have these smash and grabs, the shoplifting, assaults, robberies, because they know they're not going to be prosecuted. What would the state of Indiana do if a prosecutor chose which laws to enforce and how to enforce them? And why can't these other states, the governors and the state legislature, step in and remove them? Thank you.
Good question. I agree. You have what are known as prosecutors who may be liberal, woke prosecutors who decide that they're not going to prosecute certain crimes. I'm not that, type of prosecutor. I prosecute the crimes that we, in the cases that are investigated. We're not going to allow that type of criminal activity in our county. And smash and grabs, those type of things. We take every case seriously. We filed my office is handling more cases, up 20% year over year, than the prior administration. And that's because we take every case, every victim should have their day in court. And, you can pick and choose, like Mr. Throgmorton was saying, that, about certain cases that they don't agree with. But, until you've actually prosecuted a case and understand what it takes to convict somebody beyond a reasonable doubt, and all the evidence that's involved, and maybe some things that are not there, that you're going to have trouble with jury trials. That's why sometimes plea agreements are offered. But in the state of Indiana, there are certain prosecutors are saying they're not going to prosecute certain crimes. Marion County said, marijuana, I think is what he said. I don't agree with that. I think we have a crime on the book. And somebody has committed that crime, you file the case. And then you can deal with the case. There's many ways. Not everyone, we've had this discussion before where they're talking about people who are dealing marijuana and they're all sitting in prison. I think there's a total of 8 people in the state of Indiana who are in prison for dealing marijuana charges. Normally, those cases would probably also have been pled out from like some other more serious methamphetamines or cocaine or heroin or something else that might have been a bit higher than those. So, I agree with you. I am not going to tolerate anyone committing crimes and just give anyone a pass because, and I said this goes to this quality of life type issues that in New York City, Los Angeles, San Francisco, just allowing that it's a disgrace to me as a prosecutor. I think it's a disservice to the public and the citizens you represent. And I think those prosecutors should be removed.
So there is a legislation going through that passed the Senate that's now in the House that in the state of Indiana that would empower the Indiana Attorney General to appoint special prosecutors if the Attorney General doesn't believe that they're charging appropriately, or B, that they're just not charging at all. Do you think this is good legislation then?
I hate talking about what legislation is proposed because I have no say over it. I understand why they're doing it. And it's directed at a couple of prosecutors who may be more liberal in interpretation. You have a lot of discretion as a prosecutor to decide what you want to prosecute, what you don't. And I think, my position as prosecutor is if we're presented with the facts, and regardless of who it is, we're going to file the charges. And so, there should not be, we're not going to file a charge because, he's a friend of Johnny who supported me or something of that nature. That's what you get when you vote for just political and not vote for somebody who's based on experience, who understands what prosecution is and how to prosecute those cases to the fullest extent, that you can.
All right. Well, we're going to take our next break right now. It is 12:47. We've got a couple minutes left on the show. We'll get to some more questions with Prosecuting Attorney John Lake. The number is 219-362-0522, or you're welcome to email me at soundoff@967theeagle.com. Hey, keep where you're at and keep listening to 96.7 The Eagle.
Ben Conowitz here, LaPorte Seamless Gutter, 219-362-9972. Fall is here, and that means leaves and debris for your gutter system. We've got 3 separate types of gutter guard for your home. Leaves and debris come in all shapes and sizes. We don't need a one-size-fits-all for your gutter. Give us a call today for a free estimate at 219-362-9972, or you can visit us on the web, www.lpseamless.com.
It's a brand new year, and that means it's time to head someplace different. And that place is Michigan City Kia. Come check out our new 2022 Kia lineup, including sedans, SUVs, crossovers, hybrids, and electric models. From gas sippers to family haulers and everything in between, there's a Kia vehicle to fit every budget and lifestyle. Come in for a test drive and check out Michigan City Kia today. Or visit MichiganCityKia.com, now part of the Bob Lacurcio Auto Group.
You don't like buying a car this way.
I want flowers, but I don't want to tell you I want flowers, because then you're just going to get me flowers because I want flowers, and I want you to get me flowers because you want to get me flowers,
Don't be that guy that believes her when she says she doesn't want flowers, because she does. You have one shot to make this Valentine's Day memorable. That's when you reach out to the girls at Toady Floral and Gift. They will gladly help you customize the perfect gift for your Valentine. Call Toady Floral and Gift today, 362-1502.
Don't wait until the last minute to book your Valentine's Day dinner plans. Galveston Steakhouse will be open Monday, February 14th at 4 p.m. for Valentine's Day. So when you're putting in that order for flowers or candy, make sure you book those reservations for dinner at Galveston Steakhouse. Bring your sweetheart or your family to Galveston Steakhouse this Valentine's Day. Call and book your reservation with one of their friendly hosts. Call 879-5555. Again, that's 879-5555.
HometownNewsNow.com, 96.7 The Eagle, and the new Rock 106.5 have teamed up to give you the chance to wine and dine your Valentine. Entry is easy. Go to HometownNewsNow.com, click on Wine and Dine Your Valentine, enter your contact information, and then tell us why you love your significant other so much, and you'll be entered to win gift certificates to Tony Floral and Gifts, The Burger Bar and Grill, Galveston Steakhouse, Nowhere Bar and Grill, Portofino Grill. And don't forget to go to HometownNewsNow.com to enter and win. Now, all entries must be in no later than February 13th at 5 p.m. Only one entry per person, and you haven't won any other contest from Spoon River Media. Drawing will take place on February 14th. It's the Wine and Dine Your Valentine contest from HometownNewsNow.com, Tony Floral and Gifts, The Burger Bar and Grill, Galveston Steakhouse, Nowhere Bar and Grill, and Portofino Grill. Good luck from your number one source for news, HometownNewsNow.com.
No voting machines connected to the internet. Voter identification required.
You hear a lot about voter security lately. The state of Indiana has more than 20 security procedures in place. These are just a few to ensure that all votes are secure and accurately
Voter
counted.
machines not interconnected. Homeland Security.
Okay, that's a lot. So you can rest assured that in Indiana, your vote is private, protected, and accurately recorded. You can count on it. Sponsored by the Indiana Secretary of State, this station, and the Indiana Broadcasters Association.
Michiana weather. Overcast this afternoon with a chance for scattered showers. High of 41. Southwest winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. 2 to 4 inches of snow tonight through Sunday night. From the Weather Center at HometownNewsNow.com. Right now, 37.
Your opinion matters. We invite you to share it by calling or texting the Liquor Ball on-air line at 362-0522. That's 362-0522. Now, back to Sound Off on 96.7 The Eagle.
Hey, welcome back to our final segment of Sound Off today. We've got a couple Facebook comments here for prosecuting attorney John Lake. The first one is, I don't understand why the cartels want to lace their product with fentanyl that kills their customers. Is there something, or is there a reason that they want to do this?
Well, the only reasonable thing I can think of, and what I've been told, is that the fentanyl gives it a high, and people are always chasing what they call chasing the dragon or chasing that high, and so because of that, I really don't think the cartels care so much. I mean, they're basically spewing poison into our and whatever they can do. But fentanyl is the drug that gives a lot of these things a lot of kick. What happens is if they take pure fentanyl and send that in, and you've seen on the news like where some large shipments of fentanyl have been recovered, and those. When people aren't experts and not doing this in a lab and they're cutting themselves around here, that's where a lot of that occurs, where people get the pure fentanyl and then they start mixing it in with cocaine or heroin or meth or whatever.
Yeah, we have a couple questions here too about charging and things like that.
Sure.
So this is a comment we received here. So basically what Prosecutor Lake is saying is if we want these child predators given appropriate time and made an example of, we really need to pay attention to the judges we elect. Would that be an accurate statement?
Well, yeah. I mean, that dealing with bond and everything else, and I'm not going to attack a judge. A lot of people don't understand is that a crime is committed, and if a person's never been convicted before, you're looking at the way a sentence is looked at, and we're limited to what we can charge. I mean, one thing you can do is tell your legislators raise these charges up to higher level crimes. I'm doing that all the time. That's one of the things that I'm being ignored about because they don't want to see people go spend more time because that costs money to put people in prison and keep them there. And so it's a real thing. We're left with sometimes where we have a case that we're just like we can only charge a level 5 5 felony on this, and that's only up to 6 years. So a lot of this is we're limited in what we can charge because we can't stretch something that's not a rape into a level 3 felony rape. You know what I mean? We're stuck with maybe child seduction or, there's different things that we're very frustrated with as prosecutors. So yeah, I mean, I'd like to put all these dirt bags away for the rest of their lives if they're put hands on a child or anyone else. I mean, I'm limited in what I can do, and you have to be reasonable under the law and understand it. And we talked about this in the break. The one of the biggest issues is that a lot of these, if we reach a plea, it's not in a vacuum. That plea is based on here's what the evidence is, and most of it's going to be based on what the input of the victim is. And so if we have a victim who really, really, really does not want to go to trial, really, really, really wants us to plead this thing out, we're going to do our best job to get this thing played out so that they're not traumatized again. And so, we try cases. I mean, we're trying cases, a lot of cases, and we do that constantly. We have them backed up now because of COVID, but Julianne Havens is trying cases week after week. Atlee Price, all my deputies are, Liz, Beth. I mean, they're all in trial.
Now, on the other hand, then, if a victim if they say, I don't like the plea, I don't like this, I think this person should have more, does the victim have a say in whether or not they're going to accept the plea?
Well, yeah, I mean, if a victim says, I don't want to plea, then I'm like, okay, we'll go to trial.
Yep. Okay.
I mean, and there is a risk. You have to explain to them, like, there is a risk we can lose. I mean, we've had some adverse results under COVID with the jury spread out that I thought we have the evidence there, and it's not an open and shut thing. It's not a guarantee that you're going to win a trial. Our job is not to win; it's to present the evidence and do justice. And so, what we're always trying and struggling with is that, would we like to see? I mean, there are plenty of times we're arguing in court for higher sentences, and the judge doesn't agree with us, and that's fine. That's his job, and we accept the result. I mean, it is what it is. But I'm saying, a lot of times, it's the way the case is, what we can charge them at the level they're at. And if a case is only like a level 5 felony, it's not because we didn't look for something higher. We're charging them as based on the evidence, what the highest level we can do it. And sometimes I look at these and say, this is just disturbing that it's.
And if more evidence presents itself, then you can charge at a different level. But if the evidence is only there, that's why you can. All right, let's get to another caller. Hey, thanks so much for calling the show. Thanks for listening. What's your question for prosecuting attorney John Lake?
Hey, Nate, it's Chris Throgmorton again. I just sort of wanted to respond to what he said. So there's a little bit of clarification there. My question was based upon a perfect example would be the former security guard of the courthouse, Mr. Joseph J. Lopez, who was charged with child pornography possession. And according to the headlines on the newspaper, he pretty much admitted to his crimes. It could have went to trial. He probably would have been found guilty. There was a lot of evidence against him, but he got 1 day in jail, some work release, and a bunch of probation. And that's sort of what I was referencing is it's on the judge for sentencing, but this plea bargain that Mr. Lake claims he didn't even know about that gave a child predator 1 day in jail, probation, which he's now being accused of violating, that's on Mr. Lake's office. That's not on the judge.
All right, actually, it was an argued sentence.
So let me let prosecuting attorney Lake respond.
It was an argued sentencing. Yes, it was. As far as placement goes, you're incorrect on that, Mr. Throgmorton. And Mr. Lopez had no prior felonies, no prior crimes. We actually caught him when there was an ICAC unit. You want to complain about the ICAC unit, and we got rid of that, and we caught him after that unit was gone. And so we prosecuted him. You always like to criticize me in my office and think that we're doing things, but we're actually charging people that maybe some other prosecutors might not because he was a law enforcement officer and worked for the sheriff. I don't care about that. I don't care what your status is. I'm going to charge you with the crime, the appropriate crime. As a level 5 felony, he pled guilty to a level 5 felony. So we're going to trial wouldn't have changed the level. We couldn't have gotten a higher sentence. The advisory sentence we're looking at in the placement of where he was going to serve his sentence was argued to the judge. So that is an open argued sentencing.
All right. Well, we've got just a minute or so left on the show. Prosecuting attorney John Lake, you ran for office 4 years ago. You're running again. What are some of the things that you wanted to get done in 4 years that you feel like you've gotten done?
I think, I've kept my word. I had the article of my reelection announcement, and, we take cases that maybe other prosecutors might not. We're very victim oriented. We really base a lot of what we do on the input from the victim and whether they want to go to trial, what they don't. There's a lot of work that we've put into turn the ship around. Our sexual assault response team turned it into a regional one, had more of a dialogue on that. Our child fatality review team, our adult protective services, all the work, the hard work that my deputies do, my staff does, all the electronic filing. We've changed things, the way we share information. I'm very proud of the way in fact, I'm going to be leaving here and go over to Michigan City Police Department, do training of the officers. We're very open to the officers. We have on call. I do all that work. And I understand, some people don't agree with every decision we make, and they can sit there and harp on one or two cases. That's fine. I reviewed the pleas. I accept with what the cases are, and I'm proud to offer my services. I'm not a political person, and I'm not a politician. I'm a prosecutor, and this is now going into my 28th year of being a prosecutor, 31 years of being an attorney, and I offer that again. I don't know that you can do this job if you've never been a prosecutor, you've never been a defense counsel, like the guy running against me has no experience. He may be a great Republican, but if you want a politician for this job. I'm just telling you right now, because guess what? That's what's happening across the nation when people are politicians and want to be, Democrats or Republicans or whatever. You're going to end up with adverse results, and people are going to get harmed as a result of it.
Well, we will have your opponent in this, Sean Fagan, on the show pretty soon, I'm sure, and he can talk about some of his qualifications and what he thinks as well. But I want to thank you for being on the show again, and thanks for answering the questions that we have. Next week, we've got two guests coming on. County Council person Mike Rosenbaum will be on Monday, and then LaPorte Mayor Tom Dermody, frequent guest of the show, will be back on Friday, and he always wants the tough questions. So go ahead and give him the tough questions. Hopefully we'll have our text line fixed by then, but if not, you're always welcome to email us as well.